2 years ago going to Saudi Arabia for an artist residency, I was one of these like exotic weirdos that they're like, do you still exist? Your people still exist? You're Native American, like the Red Indian? I don't really worry about titles because I'm just lucky to be an artist in general. And yeah, if it works to be a female and I can use that as a crutch, cool. Being a native artist, yeah, there's few of us out there that are able to do it. So I'll own that too.
Marla, it's really lovely to see you and to meet you, really. We haven't met, though I'm familiar with your work. And so how's it going in New Mexico?
It's New Mexico is growing in numbers constantly with a lot of tourists. A lot of people are doing outdoorsy things that apparently in New Mexico there's a lot of things out to do outdoors where it's bringing in a lot of people from Texas, Colorado, California. At least I see plates everywhere.
Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah, but we have it locked down. I mean, as far as they're supposed to spend 14 days on quarantine if they come into the state of New Mexico right now, right?
True. I don't know how that's going to work, but yeah, it's probably a lot cooler here than where the rest of everyone is at, even though it's still in the 100 degrees temperature.
Yeah. I was supposed to be there. We're supposed to be at SAR right now in their beautiful conference room, but when they locked it down for 2 weeks, I took it as a hint that maybe this was a better way to do it.
I think this is kind of nice. We get to choose our own environment and not just have to work with what is offered with SAR, even though that place is beautiful.
Yeah, I like it too. And we get to see, these are your paintings behind us, I assume?
Yes, they are. The painting to my right was a painting that was included in the exhibition at the Tucson Desert Art Museum, where the exhibition opened in January this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the pottery motif was inspired directly from the pottery from Medicine Man Gallery that was gratefully donated. And I was able to use part of a certain design to include it with my own style and just embrace the beauty of the design, but enlarge it.
Yes, I mean, when I look at that too, I see Laguna everywhere. I mean, to me, I see the origins from the rainbow to the flowers to the kind of elliptical bars. That pottery is just, in my opinion, is perfect for someone like yourself to be able to take and make a modern, contemporary interpretation. And I assume that's what you've kind of done, right?
That's exactly what I've been trying to do with my work for a long time. Ever since my fellowship at SAR, and even before, I've been trying to really connect the roots of my traditions and histories and the art that made Laguna known, and try and bring that into more research with understanding pottery design at the School for Advanced Research back in 2010. Ever since then, I have been lucky that people like my work, and it lets me embrace the pottery design to continue it, but also bring it into a contemporary light. So it still draws on history, but also makes it modern, and hopefully we'll keep influencing artists that will continue on after me.
So, did you grow up in Laguna?
I did, yes.
You did. Okay. So I want to start there because I find, old Laguna to be one of the most magnificent, just areas visually, architecturally of any place in all of New Mexico. So where exactly in Laguna did you grow up?
I grew up in the village of Mesita. I lived there all throughout until I was about 18 and 19, actually 17. And then I went to art school, spent some time in Alabama, was able to do an internship in Mexico.
And did your folks are both Laguna?
My mother is a quarter Laguna, half Hopi, and
yes.
quarter Jemez Pueblo.
And a quarter Jemez?
Jemez Pueblo, yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
father is Anglo, and his origins are from Florida. So I'm kind of a mix of all these amazing breeds.
And but your mom, did she grow up in Laguna?
Some of her life. My great grandmother has an original house in the village of Mesita, and she was raised back and forth there, but also in Yuma, Arizona, where
Mm.
she spent most of her I guess, middle of most of her beginning life, I guess, until high school, and then she went on and joined the Navy and did a lot of other things in the life.
And where did she go? Where did she go from Yuma?
From Yuma, she joined the Navy.
Yeah, that's good. You got to get that right. I was an ex-Navy doctor, so we want to make sure you
Wow.
get that. Yeah, so she was a Navy. She went to the Navy, and what did she do there? You know?
She was a gosh, I should know this.
Yeah, and your mom's going to watch this, by the way. So
I know. I'm sorry, Mom.
definitely going to watch this.
She did a certain kind of typing where it was like shorthand, I think.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And where was she stationed? Do you know?
I think it was in Florida.
Yeah, that's where she met your dad, huh?
That's where she met my dad. Yes,
Got
and
it.
he was out of the Navy. He'd done his I think 4 years. Went around the world on a submarine, and he was the mechanic in the submarine.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time he finished, he was living in Florida and happened to meet my mom, and the romance started from there.
So they fell in love, and then when did they come back to New Mexico?
It wasn't until a few years later, possibly maybe about 5 years. It wasn't very long, but I guess 5 years after that, they returned, and my next older brother. There's 5 children total that they've had. I'm number 4 in the pecking order. The 2 older siblings of mine were both born in Florida, and my next brother, Ira, was born in New Mexico, and then myself and my younger brother Jacob. The older 2 are Amos and Raven that were born in Florida. But
and where in New Mexico were you born? Albuquerque?
Albuquerque, yes.
You're a New Mexican, and that probably bothers your 2 older siblings greatly because they don't get to claim that New Mexico root, isn't it?
Actually, not really. I think they really like being from somewhere else. It gives them a little
It's just the other way, huh?
exotic, right?
That's funny. And so you were born here. You're the 4th of youngest of 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And did they go back to Laguna when?
Yes, they did. They were living with my great grandmother and helping her with her house. It was actually my great grandfather had passed on, and they were helping with my great grandmother, my mother's grandmother. And shortly after, they got a house and they started living, and life continued. They emerged into understanding traditions. We were all raised with it, and we were all thankfully taught a lot of traditional ways. I can't say all of them because there's some really deep-rooted, heavy traditions, but we're very understanding of all this.
And that had to be hard for her too, right? If she grew up in Yuma, and she has this native history of both Jemez, Hopi, Laguna, and I guess you gravitate to Laguna because you have a home there, right? That's it seems like that might be her, how that I mean, because she could have easily gone to Hopi, right? I mean, she could have gone to Jemez, right?
Perhaps my grandfather and a lot of almost all her siblings were all living around the same area as well. So I think it was just keeping the family together.
It was natural.
Yeah, one of my aunts was living in Alabama, and so she eventually moved back home about maybe, gosh, 15 years ago,
Hmm.
something like that. And so now I think all of the mostly all the siblings are still living around the general area, Albuquerque area, mix of Laguna, which isn't far from each other. I think
And
they
so
want to
was,
hear my grandmother.
and was it hard for her to kind of assimilate at first into that
I,
world? It's a
I
small little world. I mean, everybody gonna know everybody, right? I mean, you know better than anybody. You grew up there, right?
yes, that's true. I would guess it was because she really enjoyed the life and cities and differences, but it was her choice to live there. It was harder for my father to actually assimilate because he was the one white guy in the group, and
Yeah,
you
right.
know, for
I get it.
land, his children, and trying to start his business and live and work there with mixed breed children, where we had to adjust to be in a community of a lot of full blood children and a lot of full blood elders. So it was a bit of a transition for my father, especially, and for us. Thankfully, we had each other, so we could watch over each other and say, "All right, this is what I learned, and this is how I handle kids if they're this or that." And so it works.
I mean, I've talked to quite a few Native artists and Native people that have had the same situation where, they're a combination of tribal affiliations or white and Native, and there's always a little bit of that. It's a tough road, right? I mean, I'm sure there's some ostracization that goes on within the community of saying, yeah, well, she's a white girl too. Or am I wrong? No, I'm not wrong.
You're right. You're very right. That's very correct. And that's what made me who I am. It made me embrace my culture, but also it greatly influences me to see what else is out there past the reservation, and really helped me to have courage when I went to Mexico to do an internship, when I went all over the world to do other artist residencies, which fortunately were recently, but also changed my life and my career and how I think, and really helped me grow. So
Right.
it gave me a sense of adventure, I think, that I might not have ventured out. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably true. I mean, all those things, I believe, changes, whatever it is. I'm a white kid growing up in New Mexico, so, I know what it feels like to have racial tension, which is a good thing, really. I mean, it allows you to see the other side. Yeah.
Exactly. It allows you to see a lot more than just a smaller scope of, of a comfort zone. It
Right.
forces you to push the outer boundaries to bring in other cultures and influences and question what else, what else, what else, what else.
Right. And so out of your five siblings, did any of them besides yourself go into the arts?
Um, they're all highly talented and creative. They all helped me throughout my career. By growing up scribbling and drawing together doodles, and one of my brothers is an amazing musician. My sister is great at jewelry. Younger brother is a potter. My other brothers did a lot of amazing painting and jewelry as well, but none that went into it as a full-time career. It's more kind of a hobby for most of them.
Hmm.
Somehow for me, I was lucky and fortunate to persist, and it's still been continuing. Gosh, I think it's 12 years now that I've been a full-time artist, thankfully. Thanks to everyone for their support.
We call that a beginner.
Yes, I'm still at the first steps of understanding this world, but I'm trying the best to keep going, and that's the hardest part, especially at these times, this time of life, and with the world going on. It's a fortunate occurrence to be able to still be an artist at this time.
Yeah, it is yeah, no, that's right. Well, so when you were growing up as a kid and you grew up in Laguna, right?
Yes, in Mesita, yes. There's
In the
six
city.
villages of.
Yes. And you were went to school there though, right? At Mesita.
I did, yes. For the elementary, beginning primary school, I went to school at the St. Joseph's Catholic School and raised Catholic for until I was about sixth grade, and then continued on to high school, the Laguna High School, which is the local public school. I was very nerdy, very quiet.
That's changed.
Somehow. I found myself. But yes, I was just a quiet, weird kid that secretly earned really good grades, but hung out with all the cool kids. I think they were cool.
The creative types, probably, right? Were they the creative types?
Some of them, yes, and some of them probably weren't the most ideal children my father would want me to hang out with, but that's what it was.
That's all fathers, by the way. I think that's every father. And so did you recognize early on, or did a teacher recognize early on that you had this creative bent, that you were a good artist as far as drawing or painting and that kind of thing?
Thankfully, I did have a lot of friends that encouraged me. My art teachers were very encouraging. I really loved making something out of nothing or just being creative. And it was always my dream, as far as I remember, was to be just an artist. How to be an artist, I wasn't quite certain. And as time was going on, I was able to take every art class I could in high school, and ceramics, jewelry. The teacher even made up an independent studies class for me just so I could keep going with it. I took a band class as well, where I played trumpet. That didn't, I loved it, but I guess it wasn't meant to work out because I veered towards being a painter and found complete encouragement with that. So when I started art school at the Institute of American Indian Arts in 1998, my parents went with me to look at the school, but also my grandparents, which I feel very lucky because there's 32 grandchildren, and they go, the four most important people in my life go with me to guide me to this art school and make sure it's ideal for their daughter and granddaughter. And
this was IAIA that you went to?
Yes, it was.
That was in 1998, right?
Yeah, it was the year that the last 2 years that they had the original campus on the College of Santa Fe grounds, which was closer to downtown than what it is now.
You've had there's some big people that have gone there, like Shanta Begay and T.C. Cannon and Fritz Scholder. And
there have been some amazing people and professors and teachers and influences. I mean, Matteo Romero, Tony Abeda, Rose Simpson, and even Dale Chihuly has been influencing the school and giving support.
His first pieces were actually Pueblo pottery kind of inspired pieces. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I've seen those. I have a video and a book on his work, which after I started reading and watching, I thought, oh my gosh, how fortunate that is that he could be influenced, but also the artists here in town in Santa Fe, which is where I'm living now, can be influenced by his work also. It's an inspiring place, I think. This town is a little bit magic.
And you're way away from home. What is that, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, it's not very far. I mean, I'm sure it's my parents are grateful I'm not that far, that they can still visit me. But I know this isn't the final resting place. I'm sure I have plenty other places I'll settle in, but for now it's home. Right.
So when you you graduate from school, you go to IAIA, and are you there for 4 years? You get your undergraduate or your BFA. What did you do then?
They didn't offer it then, and I took what I could get, which was just an associate's in actually three-dimensional arts, because I thought I wanted to be a metal sculptress. I did everything: jewelry, ceramics, figure drawing, like whatever was offered, I tried to do everything. By the process of elimination, I found what I eventually came to be as a painter. But I had to try everything just to know, am I good at this? Am I not? Is this fun? Is this more fun? And thankfully, I was able to meet and apprentice or find great mentors in the same process. Carita Coffee for ceramics, Matteo Romero with his drawings or paintings, and
Matteo was supposed to be my podcast before you. And so we're going to give out a shout out to Matteo. He got caught up in another thing and had to punk out. So he will.
You called him punk out.
He's going to come back on Friday, so we'll have him on. But I'll rib him tremendously. Don't worry.
Well, lots of love, Matteo. Thanks for being a mentor when I needed you.
Yeah. And where did you meet Matteo? Was that through SAR and the fellowship that you ended up?
No, I knew him all the way from art school. He was a professor at the time that I was going to school as well.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, so we'd known each other for a while. It wasn't, when I graduated, there's no instant step into becoming an artist. So no. I ended up going back to the reservation and worked around the tribe and for my father doing construction. Let's see, I was a driver for Meals on Wheels for the local elderly center, and I was able to take people to their dialysis appointments, get to know their stories and the people that I come from, right? And to be able to learn and appreciate everything and the time it takes to get from A to B, because I think on reservation time, it's everything slows down. It becomes kind of a soft way of moving and thinking, but it's all taken in even more. So it's like a stew, it's like not instant. It takes like an hour or two to build and become something more.
I love that. I'm going to remember that.
Oh, thank you.
I do. I really love that because it is a different beat,
Yes.
It's just different. And your clock changes, your sense of time changes, I think, and your sense of what's important probably also changes. And
I think urgency gets thrown out the window. There is no 5 minutes from now. It's like no. It's an hour from now. Maybe. Right. We'll see. We'll see if we're ready. Right. My family still runs by that clock. Even if I'm in a rush, they're like, yeah, we'll be there. 10 minutes later, maybe. But I try and stick with timeliness if I can, but I still fall back on that same clock quite often as well. But living in Santa Fe is definitely made me step up a little bit, and it made me focus more directly on the path that I need to go.
You were right on time for your podcast.
Thank you.
A minute early, I think, actually.
I was trying. Thankfully, it worked.
Unlike Matteo, we'll give him another jab.
We love you, Matteo.
But when you're stewing in there, right? It has to be a little discouraging, right? I mean, you've met these wonderful artists, these instructors. You have talent. You can see it. You probably have been told you have talent, and yet now you're back driving a vehicle. You're doing construction and stuff, and you're not getting to do exactly what you hoped you to do. How did you flip that switch?
I was still young. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I wanted to do art. I knew I wanted to be like those people I've met. The path there wasn't clear. And so thankfully, time worked and continued, and I was able to build lots of paintings. I met Pat Pruitt, who is from Laguna as well.
Yeah, I know Pat.
And with his encouragement and mine towards him, we both started our careers, started applying to art school or art shows. And both of us started getting accepted into them. I think about 2006 is when we both about started doing various shows. Unfortunately, things didn't work out for us, so now we're divorced for the past year and a half now. But thanks to him, and thanks to all the people in my life, I am who I am now, and I've been able to learn and grow to be the artist I am. But yeah, all before that was a little difficult. I mean, I was able to work in my father's company and do construction. I built houses for 7 or 8 years. It taught me woodworking skills, which now I can build all the frames for my canvases and stretch them and everything. I can build a house if I need to, fix anything. I can't say anything, but a lot of things.
Right. Uh-huh.
And that taught me like skills, and the construction work taught me skills and pushed me to be more than just a female, to try and be able to keep up with my 3 brothers that were already working there, and with all the other guys that were in the group. I was the only female in there. So yeah, that was very humbling, but it was also very, it helped me grow to be a lot more than what I thought I could be. My brothers would encourage me with every step and everything that I would do. And I use that same encouragement in myself when I'm making a painting, when I'm going 8-10 hours nonstop thinking like, oh, I gotta quit. And it's like, wait, 2 more hours, you can do it. And I hear my brother's voices, and it builds me up.
Get the framing up, right?
Yeah.
Finish the framing tonight before the sun goes down.
Exactly.
Finish the painting. So after you decide, okay, I've done the construction, you do that for 7 or 8 years. Then at this point, what year is this that you switch over to going, okay, I'm going to be a full-time artist, and why? What was it that gave you that ability? Did you get a gallery representation or?
Yes. 2006, I got accepted to the Heard Museum Art Show.
Which one is it?
The Heard Museum Art Show in
Heard. Okay, yeah, the Heard. Mm-hmm.
And I think it was 2 years later, 2 years later, that I was approached by the Berlin Gallery there in Phoenix as well, and that is part of the Heard Museum. It still is, I think.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we would like to represent your work. How about we figure out a solo exhibition? Actually, it was a dual exhibition. Myself and Hopi Skenador had was it Hoka? Maybe it was another show where it was myself, Rose Simpson, and Nora Naranjo Morse. We had 3 of us do a show. And from there, paintings started selling a lot faster than I could keep up with, and having a side job of doing construction. So I told my father, hey, I'm going to take a couple months off just so I can keep up with this work. And he said, I hope you take more time than that. So I thought, oh, thanks, Dad, that's cool. And it turned out to be those were the last times I worked construction for my family, because paintings started finding homes faster than I could make them. So I feel very fortunate for.
And that was 2006?
2008 is when I stopped working for my father. And shortly after that, I won the Innovation Award, the inaugural Innovation Award at the Santa Fe Indian Market. And that accelerated my career as well. It was a big award where I stood with a group of Best of Show people, got to meet Sheldon Harvey, who won Best of Show that year. And he's looking at my work thinking, who the hell is this chick? Where'd you come from? And I'm like, hey, I'm new. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like jumping steps or anything. I know you got to do this stuff, but it just happened that it was a great idea, and it was acknowledged, and to have been awarded a great recognition by such a large establishment was flattering. And really
was that 2009 that happened, that you got the award?
I think that was 2008. That was 2008.
So the same year you had the Heard show.
Yes. And then at that Heard show, I got first place in on a painting as well.
And were you doing the same kind of things that you're doing now with the blocks and that kind of thing?
No, my style is constantly changing. Back then, the painting I won was a mix of different faces that were mixed into other faces, and I was awarded alongside Douglas Miles, who got an award, I think, and one other person. But I thought, wow, I'm in the same category as these amazing painters around me. And one painting that had it was almost what would you call it? I guess a kind of cubism influence.
Mm-hmm.
That had a lot of mostly blues, but a few colors that were mixed in, and they were faces upon faces in a type of puzzle way of painting, which was an earlier style that I haven't really done for a while. And for the Innovation Award at the Santa Fe Indian Market, there was a diptych that I made, and one was no, it wasn't a diptych. It was a painting I did of my mother. It's called Mother, and it was her posing, sitting there doing cross stitching at a table at her kitchen table, and in the background it looks like a picture that was hanging on the wall behind her, but it was all painted on masonite. And in the masonite, I cut out the square, and in the back of the frame, I added a DVD player which had a video and told the whole her life story that she narrated. Yeah. It was the best I could think of to immortalize her as a mother of a painter, and that was my go at it, and it worked. People loved it, and that painting alongside my father's painting, which I eventually finished as well, were both put into the Art Museum permanent collection. So
oh, that's nice. Yeah, so she gets to see your stuff. Yeah, that's amazing that went into the Heard Museum. But but the things you're doing now don't have the video kind of component to it, right? It's more straight painting.
Yes, I wanted to get back into that, but I think I'd like to let that stew a little more.
Yeah,
I have plenty of ideas, but it needs some time. And I think with what technology I had at that time, it was cutting edge. Now there's so many moving everythings that I need to zone into it once again, but I don't see that being the end.
Do you see yourself as a native artist or a woman artist or just an artist? Or maybe none of the above?
I say all of the above.
Yeah, all of it. Check D.
It doesn't really, I don't really worry about titles because I'm just lucky to be an artist in general. And yeah, if it works to be a female and I can use that as a crutch, cool. Being a native artist, there's few of us out there that are able to do it. So I'll own that too. Thankfully, going to 2 years ago, going to Saudi Arabia for an artist residency, I was one of these like exotic weirdos that they're like, do you still exist? Your people still exist? You're Native American, like the Red Indian? I'm like, oh yeah, it's like, how funny is that? It was like a feather above my head.
How did all that happen? That's a big step. Yeah. Now that was Saudi Arabia or Dubai that you went to?
Abu Dhabi, Dubai was 2 years prior to that.
Okay, let's get to that. How did that go back? How did you get there? Or was the SAR fellowship before that?
SAR fellowship was way before that. 3 years.
Let's talk about that. Let's start with the earliest. I'm going to get your entire life drawn out of you, stew-like fashion. See, but the SAR fellowship. What year was that?
SAR fellowship was 2010. My friend Ryan Singer, a fellow artist in Albuquerque, originally from Tuba City, I think. I hope I'm not wrong on that, Ryan. We were talking, working on this collaboration with Matteo, and we were both saying, hey, he was telling me about different things he was trying for, and he said that he was applying to the School for Advanced Research for there's 2 different residencies that they have. And he said, you should try it. I thought, yeah, why not? So I did, and I got accepted. And this was 2010. Let's see, mid-February to April, I guess mid-April, something like that. And that was amazing. I was able to study Laguna pottery, Hopi pottery, understand the symbols and appreciate them, but also learn to make my own as well. And
that had to be pivotal, wasn't it? I mean,
it
sitting
truly,
around with all those master potters and those beautiful vessels that you can see the beauty and the art and the mastery of these women that made these things that are related to you, undoubtedly had to have almost a spiritual, component to it, I would think.
yes, the history of that place and the feel of the pottery and how they came about to be there was, it added so much more to the story, to be able to be among them, to be an artist and allowed to touch them. Not only artists are, so they can feel the pot, they can feel the creation process or the striations, the how the other artists made the circles and
Right.
made it all come together. I mean, it was very fortunate. That truly influenced my work with pottery design, with understanding, with being able to research so much more deeply, and to use that into my work. It stayed with me, apparently. I mean, these paintings are direct influences stemming from School for Advanced Research. Yeah, that opened doors as well. And a few years later, I got an email from a group in Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi Art Hub in United Arab Emirates, UAE. I got an email from a woman, Jemez, from there saying, hey, we do artist residencies. We'd like to host the first Native American artist residency in history here.
Wow.
We'd like you to apply. And I thought, what?
Where
is this coming from? I thought, like, that's amazing. So I was like, yeah, whatever. So I researched, and
I'm sure. Your first thought, is this spam, or is this phishing? Is this somebody trying to snag me somehow?
Yeah, they're trying to get my credit card numbers, Security, how does that work? Thankfully, it was legit, and they'd been in process of doing these residencies for 9 years prior to me being there, and had groups from Lithuania, groups from Germany, groups from Japan, groups from Nigeria, all these groups that were all prior to this Native American group. And I thought, wow, the first Native American group, how exciting. And I applied and was accepted among 4 other individuals. Emma Robbins, Monty, Yellowbird Jr., Botan, I forget his last name, I'm sorry, Botan. He usually goes by just Botan anyway. And Ben Pease. All of us were brought in and spent a month of learning what that place was, and had a final exhibition at the very end where we made 3 paintings in trade, or in thanks for our hosting. Anything we made extra is all commissioned through their gallery. So yeah, thankfully I was able to make about 5 or 6 paintings.
Yeah, I would have been.
That's what Arabic life is like there. I think there was something more to that. You know how in life there's like more callings than you can ever imagine. It was kind of that feeling like I was supposed to be there. I thought, well, why does it feel so like a second home in a way? It was strange. I thought, like, all right, whatever. I'm probably just crazy. This is like maybe some artist spiritual something, whatever talking.
Maybe it's the desert. The desert is the desert, right?
That's what I thought too. And shortly after that, I got a residency out in Bristol in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I was able to have a solo exhibition at the Rainmaker Gallery with Joanne Prince. That influenced me as well and was able to show me the Anglo side of my family, which was really exciting. That's where my roots of my father's side were from. So that was mind-blowing as well.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that has to be a little different, right? I mean, because your mind is set, I would think, as I'm a native person, I'm a native artist, I've been in Laguna, this is who I am. I have a father who's Anglo, but this is who I am. And then you go to England and you realize, wait, there's another part of me, right?
Yes, and from always being raised in on the reservation and knowing my native side, I could take that with me, and I was able to share with multiple groups and be a keynote speaker for a huge educational seminar with a few other artists that were in the area, amazing gallery owners, museum people, patrons, all these people that were in this group that I was able to give a speech to and tell them about my history and my people and who this. I could tell them about this little place of Laguna, which makes it like this much bigger, right? And it's like, wow, now this many people know about Laguna. The more I talk about it, the more it grows, I think. So hopefully.
That's true. Yeah. And then, so how long were you over there you were in London, or where were you
I was
exactly?
in Bristol, just outside of London,
Bristol.
about
Yeah.
2 hours outside of London. Abu Dhabi is about 2 hours outside of Dubai as well, but
Yes.
I would go back and forth to each city in either place.
And how
Um,
long were you in Bristol?
I was in Bristol for about a solid month as well. Thanks to Kent University and the British Museum, the Bristol Art Museum, all of them worked with me. They gave me a great work environment. I could work in the Bristol Museum of Art and
Oh,
work among all these amazing works of art and had full access to go and look at them, to research, to understand how the painters of that area made those paintings and see the inner workings of how a museum works. I mean, everything was just amazing. Plus, like the life of England and that whole little town of Bristol is so diverse and different with all the different people, with all the different foods. I mean, I ate some amazing food. I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, it was wonderful. At the time, I was still married to Pat Pruitt. And once I finished my residency in the exhibition, we continued on and did a bit of touring around Europe. And we went to spend time in Paris, where else? Some in Italy, Conegliano and Venice. And it was and in London. So we spent the last few days in London and got to see some work that he had in the British Museum, which is still there. I mean, he's one of the few natives that are named in that museum, which is pretty exciting.
yeah, that's
Hopefully,
very cool.
I'll be there.
Is that jewelry that he has there?
Yes, he has a kind of a contemporary squash blossom there. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I have one of his bracelets I wear on a fairly regular basis too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
along with Kenneth Begay on this arm and an old pawn piece here. Yeah. Yeah, no,
Nice. Check you out. Those are cool.
he's one of my rotations, so for sure. Um,
I've got a Kenneth Johnson, Cody
oh
Sanderson,
yeah, I wondered if that was it.
and this is what this is a silk bracelet made from a painting of a Sikh that's in Bahrain. So I hope that maybe I could try doing something like this eventually. I think it's a genius idea.
So those who are not who are just listening to the podcast, go to the YouTube version, and you get to see our jewelry, and you get to see your paintings, which are in the background too. So I encourage people to go and check out that as well. If you'll send me one of the images of this painting behind you, I'll put that also into the podcast. So we'll have that for
Thank
people
you.
to look
I
at.
will.
So you showed your artwork it's the Rainmaker. Is that the name of the gallery that was in? Is that in Bristol?
Yes, Rainmaker Gallery. The owner is Joanne Prince. She is a beautiful, wonderful person.
And
Yeah.
are you still showing at your work there?
Yes, I am. And I also still have work at the Abu Dhabi Art Hub Gallery, Abu Dhabi Art Hub .eu, I think. The link should be on my website.
I don't
All,
know. Yeah, some of your links you may want to check on your website. There's a couple that may not be as up to date as you think. I went to it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I think your last painting group was like 2017. So you may want to update a few of those too.
Yeah, I've been a little behind, but
Yeah.
I'll get. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
There's been a lot of things that have happened since. I just I'm not on top of it. I'm really bad at keeping up with it sometimes. So.
Well, if people want to find your work too, besides Abu Dhabi and besides the Rainmaker, they can. Does Charles King have your work as well?
King carries my work in Santa Fe and also in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Lovett's Gallery in Tulsa, Oklahoma carries my work.
Yeah.
At Rainmaker and Abu Dhabi. There are two paintings of mine in Bahrain, but I don't know how many people go to the Middle East that often.
Right.
Saudi Arabia, there's a couple paintings there, but I don't think those are for sale. I think they're part of the permanent collection of the Camel Club that hosted us for that residency. So the build-up, right? The build-up to Saudi Arabia. Thanks to Mr. Ahmed Al-Yafai from Abu Dhabi, he was he was the chosen guy to host 50 artists from all around the world. And thankfully, it's his business. He knew his stuff. And so he just whipped out his amazing black book of the world of artists and said, hey, I'll pick this person, all these people, all these different countries. And I was on the list. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I thought, wow, really? Me? Of all people, cool. I'm down. So I applied and it worked out. And I was able to represent Native Americans there. There were no others, and a female, and an artist. For all those that were fortunate of being me, I was able to be there among this world of other artists, 45 artists total, 31 countries represented.
Wow.
I felt like this big when I walked into the halls of all these amazing artists and everybody starting to present their work on every Friday night. We would talk about what we do, and everybody had these professional presentations. I'm like, I didn't prepare. All I have is all these pictures on my phone. So thankfully I had all the cables and I set it up and we could jam out. We had a dancing party at the very end and I could present my work, and everybody forgot about the low quality photos, but they were excited about my paintings and they got to see the Native American part of me, which the entire time they just accepted me as an artist. Yeah. They didn't really ask where I was.
You were equal. I mean, you're there. You're in the book, right? Yeah. I mean, if you made the book, you're there, you're equal. Even if you felt this big, you weren't, Though I'm sure it must have been intimidating to walk into that. And probably most of them are men too, as well. And you're in a foreign country.
Actually, no. Thankfully, it was quite even. There was a sculptor from Zimbabwe who was female, and this beautiful Argentinian woman, Gabriela Berrios from Argentina, a painter that was my neighbor right beside me. This weaver, Ace Ong from the Philippines. I mean, I could keep going with everybody's names, but Greece and Slovenia, Estonia, Nigeria, Spain, all these countries, people from different parts of Saudi Arabia, Jordan. There were so many. And I thought, how does this happen? I every step I took, I was grateful. Every moment I had, I didn't want to sleep because I wanted to prove myself, not just to them, but to the world, to myself. So like, wow, I've earned this. I'm lucky, I'm going to do the best work I can in my life and make this everything that it needs to be. And thankfully it worked out to be some amazing paintings that I was able to make. But thanks to my friend Aliaj Vidras from Slovenia. He does mosaic work, which the painting behind you reminds me of his work because it's mosaic and it's really tiny.
Right.
It's a traditional Roman style
Right.
mosaic work that he does, and he does very smaller pieces, but altogether he makes some grand pieces. And he encouraged all the artists to say, "Hey, come and add a piece to my piece." You know, it's kind of like a what is that, Huckleberry Finn kind of thing. Like, "Hey, do the work for me. It's really fun." I thought, "Dude, you're genius. I'm going to try this out too." And he said, "Yeah, yeah, go for it." And so we had this group, like on the WhatsApp thing. All these artists were talking, and we all said, like, "Hey, but if you want to add yourself to my painting," I was painting Mecca, the heart of Saudi Arabia, the heart and soul of their religion, everything, right? I thought this makes sense. Why not? You know, if I were in Arizona, I would paint Chaco Canyon. If I were in New York, I would paint downtown. I don't know, whatever. It just made sense for me.
Right.
And everybody came and they all painted themselves as a little person that was walking around Mecca, or some painted themselves as a star, or just painted stuff, whatever. Some were helping with the architecture. All these artists eventually were sitting on this bench behind me throughout the time, and they were like, you know, if you did this, if you added this color over here, if you did this, then it would do this. And I thought, yes, please, show me. Like, let's do this together. What colors do you mean? What angle? Is this right? Is that right? And all together, it was this collaboration of the world's artists that were there in Saudi Arabia, plus other artists or other people that were part of this Camel Festival, which is the biggest festival in the world, all adding to this. This arm wrestler from Romania that added a star. These dancers from archers from Kyrgyzstan added some different people. I mean, it was amazing. And the best part was my boss, Ahmed Al-Yafai, who hadn't painted for 40 years, picks up the paintbrush, tells me it's been 40 years since I've painted. And I was able to tell him, "Welcome back, sir." And he painted himself and his family onto Mecca. And all of us are there in spirit or whatever, in a painting. We all can join again together in this piece of what the world can offer through art. I thought it was amazing.
And where did that painting end up?
That painting is now in the permanent ownership of the Saudi Arabian Camel Club. It's a group that were, I guess, anointed or personally chosen people from parts of the government or different things that represent the King Abdulaziz of Saudi Arabia in a group that runs all these things for cultural interactions of Saudi Arabia. Amazing.
And so how did you sign it? Did everybody sign it, or is it just one name, Marla?
I just signed my name because it would have been like a sheet of names in the back.
It was your idea, right? I mean, it was your project, so as it
partially,
should be.
it was added too. It was a collaboration idea, thanks to Aliash, thanks to all these other people. I mean, it became.
Do you have a picture of that piece?
I do. I can send that to you as well.
Yeah, send me a picture of that. We'll put that one up too. I want to see. I just want to see it. Sounds fantastic. And so
I do have it on.
Is it on your website?
My website, I think so. If not, I'll add it. But it's definitely on Instagram. And on Instagram, it shows a few of some of the children that happened to be walking by and that were painting themselves also. So I added different people, some of my Egyptian friends, some of my, who knows, a few of the different people that added to the painting.
And do you keep in contact with those other artists that you've met? Is that
I do.
I would think that's a good thing to do. I mean, on many levels, not just from a standpoint of, you all have this bond, but also from a standpoint of art is about, communication and who you know. And there's a lot of that goes into art, really, I think.
That's so right. And yes, I keep up with almost all of them if I can. Where we all follow each other on Facebook and Instagram, give encouragement. They write on my page, I write on theirs. I've been Fortunate to be able to revisit a lot of them. Last fall, after the Santa Fe Indian Market, I booked tickets and I went on a European Middle East tour. And starting in October, I spent 2 weeks in Greece and then continued
Nice.
to, it was a long path, 9 countries in total. Because from Greece, I went to Budapest, got to spend time with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artists from that residency, and then continued on to Slovenia and spent a week learning the traditional mosaic style from the Liège. Continued on from there and went to Italy for 2.5 weeks and spent time at a friend's house and did painting. I did painting everywhere. I learned the traditional mosaic style, ceramics. I did a class with another artist. I was able to work with all these other people, meet all these new artists along the way, which I'm so grateful for. Went to Bahrain and was able to meet with 4 or 5 other artists from there. They let me put 2 paintings into an exhibition. I got to meet 2 sheikhs, all the other artists of Bahrain, because they had a huge Bahrain society meeting that I could be in the picture with, which I don't know how that happened, but it was magic. And the final 2 days,
I was to go on your website too.
Yeah, and I was able to do a painting in Bahrain, a mural on the side of a children's hospital, psychiatric hospital, that is now part of that city. I mean, how lucky is that? But to be among the walls of all these famous Bahrain artists, and some like little Pueblo girl comes out of nowhere and is like, "Hey, yeah, sure, I'll paint something. What do you want?"
Did you know you were going to paint that when you went, or did you just get there and they go, "Hey, we have a building"?
Exactly. I did not know. And yes, they said, "Hey, we got a building. Do you want to do this building, or you want to paint on this building, or what do you want to do?" I'm like, yes. What's easier? Whatever. I'm down. I'm down. Let's do this. And yeah.
How long did it take you to do that? How long did it take you to paint the building?
I was allowed 5 hours. No, 4, because a friend of mine took me to lunch. 4 hours, I was able to make something. It wasn't what I wanted completely. So I hope on the next return I can finish it up and add a few more things. But it was something added, and I was able to see 2 children that were passing by. I didn't know they were coming out of treatment. I thought they were just walking by. I didn't know what kind of passage it was, but they were looking at me with those doe eyes, thinking like, I just saw them and I thought, oh, maybe they want to paint. And their parents were like, oh, yeah, they would love to. Thankfully, they spoke English. And I offered the paintbrush to them, and they're like, oh. So because they're Muslim, I wasn't sure if I should touch them and pick them up. So I had the parents pick them up, and they did some painting on the wall. And I thought, that's what makes it magic. That's what makes artwork magic. It's everybody adding to it. And when I was done, and when I told my friend, hey, yeah, there were a couple kids that walked by, and he was like, oh, gosh, thank you for doing that. Because apparently those children are getting really heavy treatment for whatever they were going through. And I'm sure that made their year to be able to paint that, be able to walk by and say, yeah, I added to that. As they're going in for their treatment, I thought, oh my gosh, how lucky I am to have been able to do that.
Yeah, and it might even turn them into artists. It's that kind of thing, an individual thing like that can change somebody like that and their life trajectory. And
oh gosh, you're gonna make me get all teary-eyed and ruin my
career. Though. It really could do that. There's no doubt about it. That's the power of art. That's the power of creativity.
Yes.
People who are lucky enough, like yourself, who have that goal, that drive, that inner whatever it is that says this is what I do, you get to feel it every day. And then if you share it with somebody and that moment really captures their heart, that can be it. Just that one thing. You may have made them into artists.
Well, I hope it just, the main part was I hope it just made them smile and made them feel good.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Art does that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it did that for me too. And thankfully, after I'd left to continue and finalize the story, I was able to go to Abu Dhabi and spend time with my boss again. I was able to visit the same place I'd been for that first residency. And how luck has it, I thought, the first time I thought, oh man, let me take it all in. I don't know if I'll ever return. And then I return again. How does that happen? I was able to spend time in this beautiful desert oasis and walk these sand dunes of thousands of years ago, millions, who knows, and walk on those same sands again with my same feet, with the same spirit. And because of art, I was able to be there, following my dream, being there with other artists, welcomed and given ideas, and being able to soak in a pool in the middle of the desert. So lucky. And have an exhibition in Abu Dhabi. Because of the exhibition, it changed the last couple days. So I was supposed to go to Bristol just after that for another exhibition. But I was delayed a little bit. So they said, well, the layover is in Prague. They're like, you can spend 4 hours walking around Prague, or my friends in Abu Dhabi, they know their stuff. They said, well, why don't you just spend a whole day there and then take the next flight out? I mean, if you're already going to be stuck there, you might as well enjoy it. I thought, right. Of course. So I was able to walk around Prague for a day. Who gets to do that on a normal day? Nobody. I did. Yay. And continue on to Bristol. And a couple days later, for that, I was able to meet my model friend again that I'd painted during my artist residency. See all the friends that I'd made before. See Lem Sisse, who's this amazing writer, and be able to spend time with him and welcome a new book that he just happens to have book debuts every time I'm there. So thank you, Lem, for all those wonderful poems. And an exhibition. And the next day, I was able to spend the next 3 days, I was able to spend in beautiful romantic London and work on a collaboration painting with my friend Matt, who I'd met in Saudi Arabia, and meet his family and friends. And it's an amazing.
And that was after Indian Market last year that you did this whole trip?
2-month tour. It was amazing. Yeah. I can't say how amazing.
Well, that ain't happening this year.
I know, isn't that sad? I was actually working on, and I'm still working on a gallery exhibition. I'm curating a gallery exhibition for Budapest, where I have about 13 international artists signed up, but I think that'll have to be delayed until next year. Sorry, guys. It's a private message, but there you go.
You are doing something for SWAIA this year, though, right? You're going to be in the virtual SWAIA show?
Yes, I am.
Let's talk about that so people can find out where they can get your artwork. And that's going to be, is it during the third week of August as well? Are they going to do it like Indian Market where it's like 2 days long during the third week? Is that how
I think it's actually a little longer. I think it's actually a week, but
makes sense to do it.
Yeah. I am not the best at doing research prior to interviews. So if I have the dates wrong, I apologize.
Well, tomorrow I'm doing SWAIA's new director, Kim Piona. Okay. So I'm going to be interviewing her. So I'll get the full scoop. So we'll have that out before the virtual market comes out. But you're one of the artists that's going to be showing in there. And have you done the work yet for it? Is it ready to go?
Some of it is on the way.
Okay. Those are big paintings, right?
I have a few paintings, but they're in the woods. So. Yeah.
And some of this behind us will be in the show, in the virtual show.
Some of it. This actually is designated for the virtual exhibition that's with the Poe Center that's coming up. I was allowed to be one of the artists in a virtual exhibition. I just have a couple paintings for that as well, but that's also in the works.
And that's a big painting, right? That's like 4 by 4 feet.
Exactly. Yes.
I've been in this business a while, huh?
A little bit. I kind of know things.
I'm an old guy. So people could buy it from that too. That virtual show. Is that correct? Yeah. And what's the name of that show?
I think dude, I don't know. I'm horrible at this. I should write everything down, but there's a big list of everything that I'm involved with that
Well, you can get it to us and we'll put it on the description.
I'll give you all the information. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm going to keep you busy. So
Yeah.
what's new? What's the next thing for you? Where is your world headed? I mean, I know we're all pandemic bound here and doing the things, but you're still very busy. What are you doing? What's the next step for you?
Well, I've been doing a lot of research and travel back and forth with California and here. Possibly some exhibitions in San Francisco. Guess we'll see.
Yeah. So you're at that point, I think, is that kind of where I could see you kind of blowing up, and you've got all the right steps, right? They're all going, right along. I see artists all the time.
I'm pacing myself. I'm taking my time and careful steps because I know now is a hard time to grow, but it's still slowly working. I'm just taking my time because right now there's no certain step forward, but
do the work. Yeah, do the work.
Yes.
That's the key. Yeah, paint. And you've got good galleries that are representing you, and that's critically important. And I love your work. I think it's really interesting. I just love of course, I'm a pottery freak anyway, and I love historic pottery. I love Acoma, Laguna pottery. I love all Pueblo pottery. And I don't see anybody really doing what you're doing. I mean, it's this interpretation that's a unique take on, your background, but it's not. It's just there's something very unique about it. I like where your work is going and what you're doing. It's really fantastic.
Thank you. I'm lucky that people like my work, and somehow I'm honing in on key things that not only show who I am, where I'm from, but the roots of where I come from, but also the influences of all this world of art that surrounds me. Be able to make it one thing and to continue it to grow. I mean, I have quite a few different styles. I have 2 different styles that I've been working on throughout the summer that I don't know when I'll debut those yet, but for now, I'm slowly taking steps. And if people want to see more things or want to find out more, they can send me an email or find me on Instagram, Facebook, my website, all that. I'm pretty findable.
You're accessible. Yeah, I like your Mona Lisa piece that was on your website.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, with the Shah. Yeah, that was a nice take.
I think I made that just after I got to see Mona Lisa out at the Louvre in Paris. That was during my residency in Bristol.
Yeah, you've had a wonderful life. You're a very interesting guest. I appreciate you taking the time. I've never got to meet you in person, I don't think. Have we ever met?
I don't know. Maybe this one time, one bar, but we'll save that.
No. Yeah, don't tell them about that. I probably actually have met you before at Swaya, because at Indian Market, because I've gone for like 30 years in a row,
Whoa.
And I know. And so, I always go and check out what's happening, what's new, who's doing what, because I'm interested. I'm interested to see, just not only as an art dealer, but just as a collector and as somebody who loves native arts. And so I bet I've seen, I don't know if we've talked, but I bet I've seen it. And next year, when we do have a native Indian market, we'll be out doing I did a podcast last year, and I'll do a podcast, and you will be on my checklist of people to go and see how many great prizes you won and what's new and exciting.
Oh,
thank you so much for taking the time. And
my pleasure. I'll be debuting a lot of new work at King Galleries as well here in Santa Fe, so you guys can stay tuned.
Yeah, when is that show? When is that going to be up? Do you know?
I haven't double checked with him for a while, so I'll find out soon, and I'll put the information on my website and other places.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I interviewed Charles for a podcast too. He's a really interesting guy, so you can check that out. Yeah. You should go check it out. You can get the whole back history of Charles.
I will.
Cool. All right. Well, and give us your website name just one more time so people will have it.
It is marlaallison.com. Instagram, same thing, Marla Allison. There's only one black and white with a paintbrush in my mouth. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
Good.
Not many
All right.
Laguna artists that are out
No, there's not. Yeah, there's
there.
not. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it is a very. It's a small community, Laguna. I mean, people don't realize that's a very small community.
Yeah. It's growing. It's growing by name, at least. With artists
Yeah.
coming out, it's like, oh, Laguna, oh, Laguna, oh, Laguna. So soon it'll be like a roaring town that everybody will know.
Well, I mean, it's been there since what, 1200 AD, continuously.
I'd
Somewhere.
say BC, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It all depends on which stories you're hearing from whom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. We'll leave it at that. I understand. All right, Marla. Thank you so much, and we will talk soon.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
We need your support for the Medicine Man Gallery channel, so make sure to click the subscribe button and tap the little bell icon to be notified when we upload a new video, which we do every morning on Wednesday and Friday. See you soon.